As is often the case, at first it was fun. One of the oldest RPGs suddenly rose from the ashes and called us back to Greece. But this time, not with lyres, but with dodges and a fire build. Then into space, not a shooter, but the dialogue swamps of interplanetary intrigue, where love and betrayal are just a button press away. Next came darkness, fear, a ship, and a new gimmick. You can rewind time, but it's not certain you want to. Then the Mafia, blood, an oath, and a face that seems to understand everything but still says, I agree. Then Rusty Vans and Kojima-style genius. Then Rome, and at the end, Ubisoft, but not in the way you'd want to see it. Today's episode features some of the most striking modern games and one of the most rotten stories related to game development. At the Future Games show, the developers of Titan Quest II came out with what all the old-timers from dusty forums had been waiting for gameplay. And yes, it's still the same Titan Quest, only with richer visuals, darker, faster, and without that clunkiness that we once loved and hated it for at the same time. The setting is once again ancient Greece, but not with amphoras and lyres instead. It's harpies, golems, and nemesis, who's hot on your heels, as if eager to collect your area damage tax. The video showcased the mastery system. It's added to the traditional class mechanics and allows you to combine different professions to create your build. You can mix fire with air, earth with arcane magic, become a half shaman, half sorcerer, and unleash such devastation on the crowd that Athens would have to be burned down a second time. The combat system has been updated. Now there's more tactics, customization, and pain. The open locations look like a blend of Diablo 4 and Greek mythology on steroids. There are dodges, combos, flashes all of it at 60 FPS, as long as your graphics card isn't already retired. But most importantly, and the developers specifically pointed this out, absolutely no microtransactions. This is especially nice considering everything that's going on in the genre. Only DLCs, and even those they promise to make thoughtfully, with no battle passes for Aphrodite. You just play, grind for loot, and suffer for your own enjoyment, as it should be. There's no release window yet, but the developers promise that early access will launch this summer. It will be a proper build right from the start, one you can really get hooked on. And at launch, of course, they promise a full-fledged campaign and deep customization. If everything goes according to plan, we're in for the return of a truly thoughtful old-school RPG, where you actually want to read item names instead of just selling everything that isn't purple. Add it to your wishlist, put on your tunic, and get ready. Owlcat Games, the studio that brought us Pathfinder and Rogue Trader, has suddenly unveiled their new game, and this time it's not about knights or space marines, but about interstellar diplomacy, zero-gravity shootouts, and moral choices amid political chaos and the depths of space. Welcome to the Expanse, Osiris Reborn. Yes, it's an RPG, yes, with dialogues, companions, and character progression. Yes, with romance. And yes, comparisons to Mass Effect have flooded the information space and will continue to do so. But forget about paragons and renegades, because here your choices aren't red or blue, but more like, who will you betray today, Mars or the Belt? The events take place in the same universe as the series The Expanse, only a couple of years before the main story. The main character is a mercenary for the Pinkwater Corporation, and he suddenly finds himself at the center of a conflict between Earth, Mars, and the Belt. And of course, somewhere out there, that very same ominous and still not fully understood protomolecule is already beginning to emerge. Accordingly, we'll be able to choose our protagonist's background. The developers will let you play as a person from Earth, Mars, or the asteroid belter Terran, Martian, or Belter. You can also customize the protagonist's gender and appearance, and your choice of background will affect dialogue options, how the crew treats you, and certain other gameplay elements. For example, say the wrong thing in a conversation and you might get spaced. Combat takes place in real time with the option to pause the game, just like in Rogue Trader. There will also be ship management, colony exploration, and skirmishes with other factions. They say that choices will truly matter. Well, we'll see about that once we start losing companions. For now, they promise that your decisions will affect not only the ending, but the course of events themselves. In this case, there's no point in mentioning microtransactions. This is a purely single-player game with a full-fledged campaign or battle passes or other free-to-play nonsense. As we've already mentioned, there will be romance, but it's entirely optional. There will be action, but not just shooting for the sake of shooting. And whether there will be a revolution, we'll find out later. The release date has not been announced yet. Platforms: PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. But if you've ever wanted a Mass Effect without the gloss, but with gravity politics and blue goo in a test tube, you should definitely add Osiris Reborn to your wishlist. Supermassive is making things scary again. In the new horror game, Directive 8020 from the Dark Pictures series, everything starts with a genre classic. A space station, a mysterious signal. Someone says, "I'll go alone," and hello, nightmare. This time, it's from the airless vacuum. We play as astronaut Brianna Young. She is voiced by Lashana Lynch. That's Maria Rambeau from Captain Marvel, who wakes up after an explosion aboard the research ship Cassiopeia. the station is empty. Something is hunting in the dark, and apparently, this something doesn't have a stable form. It can be anyone, a colleague, a friend, or even you. So the studio essentially mixed the films The Thing and 2001, A Space Odyssey, and made the events interactive. The main feature is the turning points mechanic. Now your decision isn't a one-way ticket to hell with no chance to try again. If you make a terrible choice, everyone dies, the atmosphere is gone, and just rewind and try a different approach. But don't think this makes the game any easier. Now you can consciously make the same mistake a second or even a third time. And for masochists, there's the survivor mode, where there's no rewinding, just suffering, responsibility, and dark corridors. According to the developers, Directive 8020 is a story about paranoia, trust, and betrayal. So it's not just horror. When it comes to fear, it's more about anxiety. Like, are you sure that's really a person in the spacesuit and not something just pretending to be one? And you'll be the one to press the trust button yourself, and then maybe you'll rewind. Directive 8020 will be released as soon as October 20 on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. We wait, we tremble, we prepare the oxygen, because in space no one can hear you press undo decision. So, the scene, Sicily, the beginning of the 20th century. Dust, heat, lemons, and a guy named Enzo, who has just escaped from the mines where even the air works itself to exhaustion. It might seem like he has a choice, but in reality, there is no choice left. In front of him is the family, the very one where a kiss on the cheek can mean anything at all. In the new story trailer for Mafia, The Old Country, the creators showed us the initiation ceremony. A dark room, strict suits, and words, after which there is no turning back, neither figuratively nor literally. Our hero must take an oath and demonstrate his resolve. During the ritual, his lip is cut and his hand is slightly burned. It's clear that if he breaks the code of silence, the consequences will be far more severe. Hangar 13 clearly wants to play not on nostalgia, but on your nerves. This isn't just a crime action game about bad guys in hats, like the original Mafia was. The Old Country looks as if the creators are inviting us into an initiation into darkness, with oaths, family ties, and deeply personal sin. Enzo is literally a boy who learned too early that freedom is a luxury bought with pain. The trailer is awesome. If we were the Mafia ourselves, we'd take our hats off. The faces on Unreal Engine 5 look alive. The emotions are expressive. There's just the right amount of gravitas to make you feel the weight of every scene. In this trailer, Hangar 13 is assertively declaring, "We know what we're doing." They had a lot of missteps with Mafia 3, but with the remake of the first game, the studio really delivered quality work. And so far, The Old Country is also impressive in terms of quality. The game will be released on August 8th for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. If you happen to think that Hideo Kojima got lost somewhere in podcasts and movies, forget ETH's back. At Summer Game Fest 2025, new gameplay for Death Stranding 2, On the Beach, was shown. And it's him again, that very same Stranding, only now with the sea, rails, and an unsettling feeling that this world is about to fall apart, while you're holding it together with hands weighed down by cargo. On screen, there are still those same sagging backpacks, ropes, and little vans with rusty panels. But now, monorails, stealth, a day-night cycle, and that very music that makes everything inside you seem to vibrate have been added to the mix. With Woodkit playing in the background, you're already gliding through depression and radioactive puddles towards some kind of meaning that might not even exist. Sam, played by Norman Reedus, is back, and Fragile has returned as well. A new villain has appeared, with the face of Luca Marinelli, who acts like an operatic Solid Snake, and Elle Fanning is now playing a character named Tomorrow. And yes, judging by everything, there will be even more cutscenes here, even fewer explanations, and the maximum amount of Kojima-style pathos, which somehow still works. The gameplay mechanics remain painfully familiar. You haul boxes, shoot back at phantoms, crawl up slopes, lose your boots, but now you get the chance to do it all in better lighting, with a flying drone, new gadgets, and that familiar feeling of not really understanding what you're playing, but enjoying it nonetheless. The release is scheduled for 2025, for PlayStation 5 only so far. There's no PC release date, nor are there any clear answers to questions like, why does Sam have to save all of humanity again in the sequel? But has Kojima ever given clear answers? Ubisoft has finally announced the release date for Noon 117, Pax Romana. Mark it down in your prediction chart, November 13, 2025, on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. So, you have almost half a year to finish reading The Fall of Rome, rewatch Gladiator, and learn how to build roads that don't fall apart after a year. This is the first game in the series where we don't have ports and locomotives at our disposal, but togas and aqueducts. Welcome to the Roman world of the year 117 AD, during the reign of Emperor Trajan, when the empire had not yet fallen, but many were already beginning to suspect it wasn't eternal. You are the governor of one of the provinces, and it's up to you to decide a good citizen and promote the Pax Romana, or, as they say, go against the system and give the center a thrashing in the name of a free Britain. Ubisoft promises not only an ancient aesthetic, but also revamped construction mechanics. Now you can place buildings not only on a grid, but also at an angle. The Romans have finally learned how to draw crooked lines. There will also be an internal logic to the city blocks. Placing a forge next to a bathhouse is a questionable choice, but it might provide bonuses. You'll have to think not only like a city planner, but also like a schemer. A combat mode is also promised, and not just simple point capture, but full-fledged conflicts with a diplomatic element. In other words, you can be a benevolent administrator, or you can be the one who sends legionnaires off to fight while you drink wine at your villa. And most importantly, there are no microtransactions. That is, yes, at the Ubisoft Forward Spotlight show, they stated this outright, as if the absence of in-game purchases is something unusual. On the other hand, Anno 1800 had a whole range of DLCs and cosmetic packs, which borders on microtransactions. There wasn't an in-game store there, but there was a risk of getting one in the next game. You can't argue with that, so clarifying this was probably for the best. This is good news for fans. And if at any point in the last couple of years someone asked you, do you often think about the Roman Empire? Now you have an excuse. You weren't just thinking about it, you were waiting for it, and now it's finally here. See you in the next episode. We hope it'll be about good games, not bad people.